It was my first time watching. Did anyone have a link in the audience, or is this everyone's first time? No.
No one got the Vimeo link?
I thought I leaked it with plenty of time, you know?
Well, people don't prepare.
Yeah. Do you guys want to introduce yourself? And you do that one.
Yeah, I'll take that one. Hey, I'm Ryan, and I directed the movie.
I'm Colin Burgess, and I designed the titles.
I'm Victor Ingles, and I shot the movie.
And I'm Jessie, and I watched the movie, just like all of you. But if you get up fast enough, you can hold a microphone as well.
Thanks for doing this, Jessie.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It really was so good.
Oh, thank you.
So I'm going to ask them a couple questions, and then you guys also will have time to ask your questions if you didn't kind of pre-write them. But no,
Start thinking now.
yeah, because this is a chance to really prove yourself here in Glendale.
And we're going to judge the question. You don't know if the question's going to be for you.
Yeah, no, well, you were handing it to us, so that's all.
No, I'm just getting ready.
I'm ready when you are. Okay, you guys, that was really awesome. I did think it was really cool because we were talking about Robert Altman movies that are like these ensemble pieces that you like don't really see as much. So did you always like want it to be an ensemble piece, or like how did that come about?
Yes. Well, I think originally when I was writing a different movie that was supposed to be smaller, for my friend Jesse Pinnock, who is in the movie. And so then this was kind of like a distraction script of sorts during COVID. And I think there was this idea of like, oh, what should happen now? Oh, it could be this person, and you could just keep putting more people in it because it didn't matter because we weren't really going to make the movie. And I do think that is like the fun of, and ultimately why we did make the movie. I sat down with one of our producers, Mackenzie Jameson, who's in New York right now, and we were like, oh, well, what's fun about this is that we can have this really kind of like tiny core team of like 6 or 8 of us, but as long as we kind of keep it loose and it's in your apartment and it's in this park, there's no reason we can't just invite as many people as we want to like come show up for 4 hours. So that did kind of become like the MO of the project, and like what was fun about it for us is that you could just be like, I think Bardia for that yelling sequence in the city was on set for like 2.5 hours maybe total. And that was true for like a lot of people in the movies. They would kind of just, show up either for like 2 hours and be like, see ya.
And you guys shot like all of that just like on the streets of New York without a
That was a
permit?
set. It was a huge set.
Yeah, it was a beautiful set.
we did, and what was fun about that was that Victor had never been to New York before. Victor lives here.
And he'd never
An
used
LA guy. Okay.
and he'd never used a camera before. It was crazy. We had to show him which way to look into it.
But did you guys really shoot it just like on the street without like any sort of issue?
Yeah, I mean, no one. You can answer.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of the whole movie as well. Like we shot like super long lens, like very kind of objective. So when we were on the street, it was really, I don't even think anyone knew that we were really filming, to be honest, maybe aside from the boom, maybe like our sound person in the streets, but really no one really paid any attention. Versus here, I mean, like if you were to do that here, I think everyone would stop you.
Yeah, I literally don't even think you could do it in Glendale.
No.
That's so awesome. And then, so like, because you guys are just like shooting in the street, did anyone like come up to you guys while you were filming, or just?
The main thing, like
Thank you. The main thing in New York is there's so much going on. I feel like that people just don't. In fact, they would love it if they didn't have to make eye contact with you and they could just keep it going.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah,
seems to have
totally.
a fear that they're somehow going to get involved.
Yeah,
So it's kind of
absolutely.
like, So that was like the atmosphere for pretty much all of it. I think I don't think we ever really had a problem, even when we did that whole kind of park sequence at the end. People would just kind of jog past. Like everyone just seemed like, I guess if they didn't want to be involved also, they were like, well, they're supposed to be there, I guess.
Yeah,
Everyone just kind of
totally.
assumes like that's supposed to be happening.
I love the Village of Men. I felt like I would feel very safe in the Village of Men. No, I do have questions about the Village of Men, but I kind of, want to take it one step at a time. You said you wrote this as kind of like a distraction script. Was Drew the character like based on anyone, or did you always have Colin in mind, or like how did those two pieces come together?
Colin and I had worked together on a different movie, which is how we had met. Not something that I had made, just something that I was also working on. And so there was an idea of yeah, you know, Colin had a very defined like persona comedically that he was doing in New York, whether live or in other sorts of things. And so it was easy to kind of, the movie I was writing for Jesse was kind of thematically similar in terms of it was like, oh, a person kind of gets like this kind of new sense of freedom at the very beginning of the movie, and then like what do they do with it? The Jesse movie was really getting hard to write because it was like this character that was very like unreadable, and people were getting very frustrated with me when they would read the script. Then they would go, I don't understand her. And so I think as kind of a release, I was like, okay, well maybe in this version of a movie could not be more readable.
Yeah, totally. Did you, Colin, feel like you were being unreadable, or like you have a look on your face like you thought maybe you were being mysterious in the film?
I think people read me all wrong. No, I think I'm probably very readable.
But that's what I think is.
That's what's to make it clear that that's a compliment.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I think I was thrilled when Ryan sent me this and said, I wrote this for you. And it's incredible to read something and see exactly what they think you're like.
But I just mean like in terms of, you know, I don't know exactly why I felt like I knew you could do this, but I'm always like amazed when I watch that initial scene when Colin bikes to the park and, you know, Victor's like in a wide the whole time, like we're far away from this guy. And a lot of time you're not even facing the camera, like your back's turned, and yet every little thought this guy's having, you're like, yeah, I know what he's thinking there, I know what he's thinking there. And that's kind of amazing. That's like a Charlie Chaplin, Tati, you know, it's just
Yeah.
really good.
I'm more of a
skill.
Buster Keaton guy.
I do think that like what was really cool about watching it too for the first time is like it felt like there were almost all these vignettes in it. Like there were all these situations that you were in that felt like it was looking towards something obviously like much more thematic, but that we were being like shown it rather than just told it. So there are all these like different little situations. Did all of those just like come to you chronologically or like?
I think so. I mean, I was writing it at the beginning of COVID, so it was like truly like inside, nothing. And again, because it was like not something that I was actually thinking we were gonna make, it was like, all right, I don't know, and this happens, and then this happens. So yeah, I think the whole thing was basically written chronologically, and honestly, with the logic of like, because it was easier to write with people like in mind. Like the original version of the script just had everyone's real names in it, and some people in the movie still. Like if they said yes originally when we asked, we just didn't, you know, Rajat's Rajat, Michael's Michael, Rachel's Rachel, like there's a lot of that. So yeah, it would just be like, all right, now Colin's home and like we gotta, oh, what if Holmes was in it? And then she's, you know, also there. So it was just kind of like a lot of like, who else could we imagine in the movie? And that's just kind of how it rolled out, I guess.
Totally. That's awesome that it did come out chronologically, just like I thought. I had a question about the score, which I thought was really awesome. You guys made, I don't know if this one's going to go to you. Like, I can see you reaching for the mic. Is there anything you might want to say?
I know the answer, though, but...
Okay. Well, what do you think the question's going to be?
What was the score like?
That's
jazzy.
right. And everyone looked me in the eyes. That's exactly what my question was going to be. I was going to look at these three men looking at me and go, So I'm sitting there and I'm going, what's the score like in the movie? Because I can't put my finger on it exactly. I felt like it was like I was hearing something and I couldn't. And it was.
No, yeah, it's jazzy. Yeah.
Okay, it's like you don't really
There's a big
hear that
jazz
anymore in
influence,
movies. You don't hear that jazz anymore. And what made you guys want to make it jazzy when you could have made it poppy? I'm actually getting like really hot.
I think because we knew it was going to be such a small movie, I think there was like this idea of like, well, it's probably just going to be one person with an instrument that we can ask to do this. And I think there was an idea of like hearing a lot of indie films with like of this size and like, oh, it's an acoustic guitar, and that just didn't really feel right for the movie. And I knew this great musician named Mason Margaret from college, and I had seen on Facebook.com that he had just...
You're on Facebook?
Oh, all the time. You guys are?
That is, so all of you guys should be posting your reels on Facebook and not just Instagram.
Yeah, check out Facebook. I mean, this was 2020.
That is way too late in the game for you guys. I know, oh my God, you're so young.
It was COVID.
So you saw on Facebook?
But I saw on Facebook that he was moving to New York and he was gonna, I don't know if this is how you would say this, get a master's in piano? That's,
I think right over to Colin.
And I had just seen that on Facebook, and I said, oh, that's a one instrument, and maybe Mason would want to do this. And he was great, and he did the whole score before we shot the movie, basically.
Really?
He would sit in his apartment, he'd put his iPhone at the end of his piano or keyboard, and I've never been there, actually, don't know which one it is. And he had this script, and we had talked, I think we looked at this one like Bonnie Raitt song from the 70s, and he just kind of would just play music for like 10 minutes and send stuff as like a voice note, basically. And then when we shot the movie, our editor, Byron, would just have all this stuff kind of already, and so he would just kind of like cut stuff up and just kind of throw it in the movie. And and we were gonna go into like a studio at the end of the process, and he was gonna like re-record everything, and we kind of tried that, but because he was just kind of making stuff up, it was hard to get it exactly how it was in the cut. So a lot of the stuff that's in the movie is literally just his iPhone recordings that he texted us. Yes, Colin?
iPhone 13.
That is
You
really
always
awesome.
forget that, but he has an iPhone 13.
And for some reason, when you said iPhone at the end of his bed, I had an intrusive thought that you were going to say iPhone at the end of his penis. And I'm so glad that's not what it was. But I did have that as an intrusive thought. Colin, I did have a question because right back to you.
Yeah.
The scenes like when you're in the band really did make me feel like viscerally tense and so sad. And mostly because there was a deep level of connection there. I thought those scenes were like really awesome. And when you were kind of having this like breakdown and you were like, well, it's just not what I signed up for. So you have that kind of like, like breakthrough that feels like, I don't know, obviously about much more. And then later you have the big kind of monologue that leads all of your fellow men out to the street.
Right.
I guess I was just curious.
It's just a summary, or?
Sorry, everybody, this is the first time I'm doing a Q&A. But I want to say those two moments really stuck out to me. Do I know what my question is? Not exactly. But I think what I'm doing is I'm like pulling out these two really interesting moments in the movie.
Yeah, these two disparate moments.
That maybe you want to talk. That maybe you want to talk about how you emotionally connected to acting in both of them. Right? That could be cool for everyone to hear about what an actor's process is like.
Well, I do want to mention that. I do want to mention that is actually me playing piano.
Is it really?
In the movie, yeah.
You did sound like you were playing a toy. That was really good.
Alex Bliss made that up, that line.
Improvise.
Did he? Oh, that actually will lead me to my next question.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you want to stop there?
No. No, I would love to hear you.
And
tell
what
me
was the
about-
question again?
So the question was, you had these two
Right.
moments in the movie. Okay, I'm seeing a yawn from Tim. So you had these two moments in the movie,
Uh-huh.
and then what did it? And I really
Would that
connected
feel
to
like? Is that the question? Would that feel?
All
like?
right, guys.
Ryan. I'm basically in the village of men right now. Did you feel like you were having like a breakdown while you were doing that?
There were certain scenes, and in general, I would say the Jesse scene is a scene where it really I could feel the tension, and it was awkward and embarrassing in a way that was cathartic to act out because I was in control of that. But I was also, you can't help but feel it also.
So that
yeah.
was like the tensest you felt as that character? Because that character has like, I don't know, I felt like tense for you for so much of it.
Yeah, well, I would say the band scenes were maybe the most bit heavy in a way, or something.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't feel as tense.
Oh, okay.
A lot of bits got cut out of that scene.
So.
And so how much was improvised versus how much was written? That's a question. A ding, ding, ding on that one. And that's going to lead to an answer.
I would say I pretty much threw the script out day one. Wasn't working. No, I don't know a percentage, but I definitely said all the lines written and then added to them probably, or slightly changed them.
Yeah, I think because we were moving so fast, there wasn't a lot of room to like totally, reinvent a scene.
Even though I wanted to.
Right. But yeah, everybody was we let everybody kind of be loose with it, and in certain situations, people would come. Like Bardia's whole thing he's yelling on the street was not in the script, something else was written, and he just showed up that morning and he was like, I wrote this on the way over.
Yeah.
What if I said this? Yeah, okay.
How long did you guys have to film this entire movie?
10 days.
10 days?
And the only reason that is possible is because of Victor and because of Paula, who's not here, who both produced and first AD'd the movie somehow.
That's amazing. 10 days. I can't even write a paragraph in that amount of time.
I'm sure you can.
Stop. I'm being self-deprecating. But it's not about me. I'm actually keeping things kind of pretty on track. So, I think we got to a pretty good segue. You made a whole movie in 10 days. What's your advice for making kind of an indie movie?
You better actually have something to say.
Yeah.
Don't do it that way.
We actually got asked this on Friday. I remember the next day I was like, oh, this is what I should have said.
This is great.
And now I actually can't remember. But I think the atmosphere of it was we got really lucky in the time to make the movie because it was right after COVID, and if you had asked people if they wanted to be a part of making something with other people, people were like, yeah, please. But I really think it was just like trying to figure out a way to put something together where it was like we were doing it because we were going to enjoy the process of doing it. Which sounds kind of counterintuitive, but for so many, years we weren't really making anything because we were like, it's got to, be this or that or whatever. Like so many people I knew from school and collaborated with, and it was really this movie that I met Colin on, which was a friend's movie that it was made for like $3,000 in his apartment, where I was like, oh, it just doesn't matter that much. Like we can just kind of have some fun, and we definitely never thought we would be showing it to you guys. That's kind of a surprise. So, I think it's like if you can follow what's like a nice thing to do, maybe I feel like I had a better answer that I forgot, but I think that's still good.
No, I like that a lot.
You should get more money than what we had.
But this is your first feature film, right? And when you made short films before and other projects, were you working? Is this your first time working with Victor? Was it pretty similar teams?
Well, this is my first time working with Ryan since film school, which I think was about 6 or 7 years before.
Yeah, but when we worked together, we were like 18.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's true. In
Is
college
Ryan
dorms.
different?
Well, I think we definitely found our voice, both of us, like
Yeah.
ever since like working professionally out here and just working with other professionals. But yeah, I mean, it was a pleasure. I mean, working with friends, I think is just the best in terms of if you want to get something small, scrappy off the ground, and pretty much just for fun. And yeah, I mean I think that's the most important, really. Yeah, with people you trust,
Oh, I have to say something now?
No, not at
Yeah.
all.
I feel like you should.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did want to know, like, have all your projects, do you think, are they following something similar thematically, and are you like interested in the world of like contemporary indie movies? And if so, like, what do you actually think is like a contemporary indie movie right now, aside from what you made, which we all really loved? Don't laugh at me like
Yeah.
that.
Everyone went, did we? Well, if I was looking again at that movie that I was writing with Jesse in mind, or even some other stuff, I think there was an idea of like, I guess an idea of what freedom. Freedom's kind of an idea of like, I feel like, oh, I'm under. If it wasn't for this thing, if this was gone. Obviously, in this version of the movie, it was job, but in the Jesse version of the movie, it was something else. So I think that's been kind of a through line, the idea of like, if you could actually get out from under everything, what would that look like? I don't know if that's a good answer. Anyway, I don't know what a contemporary, just small movies that are coming out right now.
Yeah, I guess I just mean, I'm like, well, they used to think indie movies were like John Cassavetes movies, and then it was like the Joe Swanberg type of like indie movies, and I'm like, so now, reading a lot about this movie, people are like, you're ushering in this like new wave of like indie filmmaking, and I'm like, so what does that mean when you like read? What does that mean to you when you read that?
Well, we're definitely riding on the coattails of what seems to be a renewed interest in small movies in the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely say we're not ushering as much as we're following a bunch of great movies. A few years ago, this $3,000 movie I was talking about played at Slam Dance, and there was a bunch of great movies. Kit Sahar made this movie called Actual People. There was a movie called Hannah Ha Ha that Jordan Tatutsky made. Waiting for the Light to Change, Lynn Tran's movie. There's like been all these great movies. The Civil Dead, that's an LA one, that were made for like, a really small amount of money. That I think the difference between these and maybe like the Swanberg era is that everything at that time we were like, well, that looks like it was made for $0, and that's kind of like the appeal. And I guess the technology has now kind of gone to a place where, at an almost similar size to those movies, it kind of looks like a real movie.
Yeah.
And that's kind of interesting that that's possible, and it's interesting to see what a ton of different people are doing at that kind of size, because there could be so many different versions, of that. And those other movies that I was just talking about don't look anything like this. They're all kind of their own thing in a way that's really interesting. Whereas I think that the Joe Swanberg era, they all kind of maybe felt more, at least visually, kind of together. I feel like I'm rambling. That's my answer.
No, I think so too, for sure. And Joe Swanberg movies were more about polyamory, and yours didn't seem
Right.
like it was as interested.
This is a
in
monogamous
that.
movie.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I think that was your question. Did you want to answer the question also about like indie movies
No.
to you?
What are some good contemporary indie movies?
Yeah, or like what's an indie movie
Oh,
to
we should.
you?
Inspector Ike.
Yes.
That's a good one to mention. Check out Inspector Ike. That's a good one.
I love
Factory
Inspector Ike.
25 and No Budge in general are putting out a lot of. No Budge, the streaming service, has a lot of micro budget on there. Cash Cow,
Oh yeah,
another
yeah.
movie that just came out around the same time we played a festival with. Dad and Stepdad, another movie I did.
So So, you know, kind of a good
That one too.
question for
Oh,
this one, you know?
dog leg. The hat that I have on.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any movies.
Awesome.
This guy's watching Dune Part 2.
Okay,
Are you here for the next raid? Are you here for a different movie?
wait,
I
for
know you,
real?
man.
That's
I didn't know
awesome.
if at some point we're gonna get kicked out.
Well, I would love to open up to some people. I have one more question about something, but it's kind of like relaxed and chill, so I can run the mic out to people. Who would like to ask a question?
I have a question.
Okay, I'll come to you.
I don't even.
Okay.
That is nice of you, Jesse. But
Thank you.
Do you write the lyrics for the band's music?
Thank you.
That's a great question.
The band, so the Michael Patrick Nicholson who plays Michael, who's if you can guess, it was written for him. And he is an actor, but he's also a pretty great musician. And that whole band is just his actual band that he performs with. You know, heightened, but that he performs with. And he was a really good sport in the sense that I think I went to him and I was like, so this is kind of the joke of the scene, so I need some songs like where it's a joke that you wrote this. And he was like, okay, I know the two that we should do. So those are songs that he had written before the movie and was gracious enough to let us use them in the movie to have, and we laugh at them.
I love that it's the betrayal to country music. That would hurt so bad. Any other questions?
I really love the opening credit sequence. I was wondering what inspired it and who the buskers are.
The buskers one busker is my friend Patrick Saxer, who was doing sound on the rest of the movie, and he's also a great musician. And Chloe, who's singing, is not someone we knew, but that actually was like halfway through the shoot. It was really complicated to get together, and at some point we had to figure that out. And I was like, I guess we just won't do that. And then the 2 days we had in the middle of the shoot, I was like, maybe I could find somebody. And I just kind of asked around, and somebody was like, oh, my friend Chloe can do it. And so they just came the next day and did it. What was the first part? Oh, for the opening? I don't remember. I think, I don't know. But we loved doing that scene. I know that's the one that Vic loved doing. I think it was just we knew that the credits needed to play over something that felt kind of elongated. And again, what was great about Colin is that you could just kind of come up with a concept that was like, hey, you can't swipe in. And I think we all felt really confident that Colin could kind of figure out a way to make that interesting for about 8 minutes. So I guess that's probably was like we just kind of let him go.
It's not a question actually, but it reminded me a lot of How Cute with John Wilson episode where Kyle MacLachlan's trying to swipe.
Oh yeah.
No, yeah, it's a reference to that.
Actually, I think that came out after, so this might have been why that happened.
Right.
Any other questions?
You.
Sean?
I really love this movie. That was really cool. Knowing that now that this is your first feature, I wanted to know if there was anything big that you wish that you had known or that you learned in the process of this that you think